Alright. So yeah, for first, play off flank, definitely work with your spy. Are there any other people to go flank? Then if you have your spy call when they're ready to go for sap, if your team likes to sack on first at all, and then just jump in either from the flank or speed shot over hill and converge it about right here. Like, you demo and your power, whoever else can or is jumping, your spy, all converge at the same spot, try and kill gun, try and kill medic, so on and so forth. After you die in first, after you clear them out. I'd also say, like, Highlander could be good on first, like, on offense, if you play it slower, if you don't sack in at all, but if you intend on sacking, I like going gunboats for first, in specific, just because of how, like, sort of sack heavy it can be to break. Yeah, I don't know, I'd personally say gunboats stock. Going into second, if the enemy, like, a lot of the time these days, teams will kind of gather up around tunnel here and they go for a sack. If the enemy heavy dies on first, they'll normally just do that anyways, and I'd recommend you do the same. Like, if the enemy heavy dies, just whip your heavy in through tunnel and sack, and you each go a different side of tunnel. I'd suggest, like, heavy side, soldier main, or vice versa, or you could double up in main. I wouldn't suggest double up inside though, and then just sacking through, but otherwise just get everybody ready. And then I'd suggest sacking through main tunnel or so and just landing like 2 rockets around medic here, kind of curve into it naturally, make it so that you're not instantly going to get reflected by the pyro. The rest of your team usually is either flooding in through like the other parts of tunnel and or hill, and it's good to have like just more split pressure there. I wouldn't suggest going through side tunnel really. Going through hill could be okay, but again, you're usually having some other people do that, and you usually just want to like land right in with that natural curve there from below. And around that time you're spy sapping, you're just getting in for subsequent fights. You can either just get on a hill and just shoot the enemy team, like if the gun is down here, you could just kind of land here with when your combo's going forward, like when they're taking the exchange, and you can just spam into them from above here, clear out dispenser, so on and so forth, and makes it so that they have to like spend resources to contest you up top. Otherwise, you're playing passively in tunnel here. I'd say stock because you have really easy access to your combo here, to your heals, to basically everything. It's really easy to back out, so stock rocket launcher definitely. And then I'd say battalions. And then if you get battalions, you can easily take a battalions push in through hill or any direction. Again, you're only really needing to do 1 or 2 jumps. There's nothing fancy about it here. And you could high bomb over a hill if you wanted it, and if you're intending to do that, you could spawn with the gunboats. But the majority of the time, battalions is good. It'll be nice, especially for the tunnel fights. And then it's just like you're kind of playing pass around here. You don't want to wide peek, you don't want to like aggro peek this. You want to like play kind of wide, avoid being around walls and corners. And then it's just like you keep tapping people who enter tunnel. If you get a damage advantage, you can try and pressure off that. But the main thing you're looking for there is for your spy to be in position to stab an enemy heavier soldier if they're playing around here. Otherwise, you're kind of just like passively spamming the shutter, trying to get a banner, trying to be a distraction, and then you're usually going to be rotating over to bomb somewhere else, like main or hill, getting onto the shack if it's through hill. Otherwise, just going for a force or gun, sniper, demo, medic, whatever else you want to get on hill. You're not really winning the flank fight unless you're peeking this with your heavy if they have anybody passive in the shutter. So it's like if you want to aggro push with your heavy with the whip side hole, that's fine, but usually if your heavy actively pushes this, they're going to shoot this. So if they have players holding shutter instead of close to side hole, my preference is to just rotate elsewhere. And then it's like they don't really tend to aggro push tunnel if they're the type of team to have players sit passively in shutter anyways. So just pay attention to what the enemy team is doing on flank and try and work with your spy and heavy, especially there. Sack is needed, rotate is needed, so on and so forth. For third, you can get super forward around here, and your usual goal, like if your team's getting forward on third, is to hold this doorway, spam into here. If you see any enemy players coming in from the left side, shoot them. If you can't get super aggro, what you do is you just come in on the flank. And what you're normally doing is just working with your sniper around here, spy checking. Most importantly, though, it's just like you're preventing the enemy scout and soldier walking past this point. It is pretty reasonable to run black box here, I'd say, because it's like just. It's hard to actively get an advantage on here. I personally like to take the initiative and peek heavies aggro as fuck, like from around here though, and just 4-tap them. Use the they'll have a little bit of a tiny bit of a buff or something, or it's like you won't necessarily hit 3 wrecks in a row, so it's like usually you'll hit 2 or 3 rockets. With the last rocket, they're kind of like jumping down for the packing. You can kind of just predict and air shot it, and then that's really allows you to win the flank. But then if you don't take those sort of aggro peaks, I think you just want the consistency of being able to hold around here with black box, for sure. If you're on stock, you can do something like this, not really like that, or like this kind of, and just like try and bust through the flank. What I normally do though is just like jump left side directly and kind of land into them. Again, the specifics of the jump doesn't really matter, you just kind of land into them like in the middle of their flank, get a lot of burst damage, and then like you might try to your life, but it's what can allow you to bust the flank with your spy and scout, just getting a lot of that burst damage, making that big distraction. But the most effective way I usually find is just getting a heavy down from there and then just like busting in from a side, like with a jump, yeah, on hill here, flank rather. Protect your sniper. If the enemy flank goes down or you see an opening too and you already have people in on the flank, you have somebody sitting with your sniper like engineer already, then I would suggest getting in through the left side here, spamming around here, just making sure that they can't passively have their sniper, gun, and NG sitting up here. Definitely make their flank, whatever other classes, try and deal with you over here. You're a much more lasting threat than just passively holding on the flank. But then if you end up not getting much done with that rotation, or if they're just saying a lot of things on your sniper, you can definitely not do that rotation, just stay on the flank side instead. You can also like try and high bomb something like that and then just land on the medic there. Again, I'm not really trying to do the best jumps here, I'm not really putting that much effort into the jumps actively, but you get the general idea. It's like you just kind of land into them here. You can do fancy high bombs, you can do a ton of things, spend some time, practice it, you can work it out. Not really the focus of the review though. So that's another thing you can do definitely for like forces, stuff like that. And just definitely make sure that you're getting some ground on the flank, otherwise doesn't matter what method you take to do that. On last tier, stock, rocket launcher, I would say battalions again. Get a battalions, push in through flank or through here. Again, you're not really doing any jumping past this point besides maybe like 1 or 2 or so. It's not that important. In the outside you have a lot of access to health. Here, around there, but then usually it's like your team will have a lot of things helping on flank as well, and if you get a banner, it's just like a really easy push for your team, because sentry gun and sniper are like the main 2 things that determine the fight besides just getting on the flank here. For Vigil last, it is vital you clear out the flank though. Real quick for third, I would suggest running, depends if you like playing it passive or aggro. Again, if you like playing it passive, I'd say battalions and black box. If you like taking a ton of super aggro peaks though, really just either gunboats or battalions. By going back to last, passively you can be holding up around here, just spamming this, have battalions, farm some battalions. If you're getting a really pressure on the flank though, just rotate, watch it super passively from like far back or so, make sure they're not getting through. But usually what you're doing is trying to coordinate with your spy here to kill their heavy. Teams that send their heavy on flank scientifically use their heavy as a crutch on the flank. Their flank tends to overextend, and once the heavy goes down, you can usually really easily just peek into them and kill them there. Having the 4th rocket, very nice, very important, and you have good access to health already. It's not like Swiftwater Second and Tunnel where you're super far away from your combo most of the time. If you're having more trouble pushing flank than that, then just have your demo men pyro rotate over here, have your heavy, maybe another flank member just watching red room passively for a little bit, clear off the flank, get players in through the flank, rotate your heavy over here, probably actually have your heavy pushing this from the start, just really have engineer or one person just watching this, giving you a call, and buying a little bit of time for you to send things backwards here. But it's like the enemy team won't always do that, and if they try and go from a flank here, all you have to do is just have your pyro sit below here, and then they just get shoved off when they try and peek this. Otherwise, you can have your sniper kind of peek them from back here, so, or from below. Not really from below, actually, I'm dumb, I don't play sniper, fuck that class, don't know sightlines, never will. But maybe around here, so it's usually not that much of a threat, honestly, if they go in from behind, just because it opens up so much risk if your team does get flanked. Like, a lot of the time they won't really send that many things in unless it's a full exchange, in which case absolutely your pyro could solo deny it. And it's just like, it's only a threat if it doesn't get called, mostly. But usually how you do when Vigil is getting people on flank and having your soldier heavy play around these little areas. Most importantly, it means the enemy team doesn't have a safety net to fall back into. They can't just sit around here, and it also means your team isn't getting shot at from the cart. So again, no matter how you want to go about clearing out the flank, clear out the flank for Vigil last offense, for sure. And if you're having more trouble than just working with your spy, send your demo man heavy pyro over here, have them just peek this with you, have them clear it out, get a pick or two, and then just post your heavy and yourself around here. The rest of your team can just go for a push at that point. You don't really want to go for an uber push unless you can like have players pressure from the flank, otherwise you're just going to get collapsed on upon. You don't want to send a full uber exchange through the flank, and you don't really want to have your medic just like sit in the open and get forced here, definitely. So just like be decisive engagements, you know, make sure it's what you can win as a team. Don't just like keep having everybody stack up there, but do make sure you can, like through one way or another, bust flank there, and those are the main two methods. Otherwise, occasionally you can try and peek with your most of Vigil. For offense, if your spy gets a stop on the gun, you can go for like a high bomb like that or something, although you hit it off that first layer instead of the high ground off there, and you just try and land around the enemy team either on the corner or on the flank. Usually around the corner, though if they're on the flank you can usually easily like shoot flank down there. Defense-wise.
Did you go over how to push last exactly?
Yes.
So it's like destroying the gun with the spy and sniper?
Getting gun down and then getting you and your heavy through on the flank are the two prerequisites to winning last pushes 90% of the time.
Wait a minute, so it's heavy and...
And you.
Okay, so you don't have to like push behind your combo as heavy?
No, it's actually really good to have your heavy pushing in from a different angle than your combo on Vigil last, especially. But like a fair yeah, on Vigil in general, it's like heavy plays a little bit like towards the flank, like on second, on third, on fourth. It's fairly meta. See heavies like either like supporting more on the flank or full holding flank, and same goes for pushing. Really, I mean pushing though second, you could see him on hill. It's just really a lot down to your own team's preferences, but like a really easy answer to winning Vigil a lot of the time is just committing more things on the flank, but then making sure you rotate everything besides like your flankers and heavy away once you clear off the flank. And again, if you're having issues, just rotate more people over. Don't send a full uber exchange through though, just get your spy to go for a stab, send your heavy with you if you need to, send your demo pyre if you really need to if they're meeting you over here, and just get through, get your combo to rotate back, have them take an uber exchange, your heavy peeks around here, you peek around here and shoot them right into them from above so they can't just sit back there and or they get forced or lose the players. It's all about just like pinching them there, sort of, and usually I'd say this is objectively like the most effective way to push last here. If you don't get flank secured, they are just going to shoot you from above on cart, and you are going to lose cart time. Your uber exchange is going to get shredded from above, so why not both clear out the flank and use that to your advantage, like attack the enemy team from the flank, right? That's just kind of the best answer there. It's like clear off flank, get gunned down, and that's how you push last usually.
Okay.
First, either black box or stock, personal preference, those trade-offs either way. You do have a pretty big safety net though once you back out, so it's like there isn't a huge need for black box, but like if you want to keep playing very forward in house, like it's pretty understandable. Definitely be running Battalions backup for this or conch, but I'd really say Battalions backup. Farm around here, just try and take an aggro peek around here right as the spawn gate, fire 2 or 3 rockets or so, probably 2. Just try and deny any instant like jumps, get some spam off, like build up Battalions a little bit. Pretty quickly back off though, especially if they have their power in the flank, like don't overstay your welcome with that peek. Basically it's like you could try and forward hold flank, you can try and work with your spy, but if they send their pyro and flank, that's usually enough to just clear it out on its own, right? So it's like start backing off if you see the pyro there especially. But like, try and build up some banner, try and get a little bit of time and pressure inside in the house there, but then just definitely jump out, play super passive on the flank, play something like a back here or so, and just try and spam to distract for your spy. You can try and walk forward with your spy and scout, and kind of like converge on them here when your spy's ready to, like from here, so you can try and go for a stab on like their heavy sniper demo, whoever else is over here. But it's a pretty giveaway hold on the flank for the most part. But if you have the opportunity to kind of collapse on them as a flank and get that ground back, that is going to that's going to allow your team to hold first actually a decent bit. So it's like, if you have the opportunity to definitely take it, but don't throw away your life for if you're not going to be winning that fight, basically, because if you don't throw away your life, you can have really good banner percentage for holding second here, which means in the post fight on hill you could just pop battalions, roll into them. If you have disad, you can pop battalions, force them kind of back out. If you want to take an aggro push into them with add battalions, whips, it's kind of the answer to everything. Every issue you might have on Vigil second. Battalions is good. Use it well, coordinate with your team. Same stuff kind of as Swift Order, except for post fights are actually really good for it here. Normally, you're holding kind of passive side tunnel. I'd say either around here, not aggro peeking this that much. You want to stay just outside of the common splash range, like right there. You don't want to stay against walls, because if you get hit by 1 or 2 rockets, you kind of get bounced against the wall. So it's like, you want to take this peek very occasionally and infrequently. You actually want to bait the enemy team into taking this peek so you can get like a damage advantage on them, so that you can keep them against this little corner wall area, instead of just like slogging out versus their team and trading health and eventually have to give ground up. It's like, you give some ground so you can get some ground, basically. You want to play dynamically. You can play super passively, like back here in the shutter with your heavy, and that means like basically they're never really getting things through the flank. It does mean your team has less like vision on the flank though, so like if your spy's a downer isn't calling it, they could get him more through the flank. If they send Pyre here, you might be in a little bit of trouble if they send their heavy here as well, but then usually it's like you rotate your demo and start shooting over. Basically it's just like rotate around a lot here with your team, play how your team does. Don't overstay your welcome inside tunnel though, is my biggest piece of advice. If you can keep taking peeks and you keep winning DM fights, you can keep being super aggro, that's fine and all, but if you and your heavy are both super aggro here, it is a really good opportunity for their spy to just go for a stab on you. So it's like, don't take a peek unless it's something that's going to be like very beneficial to you, unless you know you can get away with it kind of there, and just be aware of spies trying to go in like the moment you focus more on pushing in this here. You don't really need to do anything fancy, you don't need to push a lot, you just need to make sure they don't get through here while like generally building up banner and just buying time and space. Nothing fancy though. But then banner, if you have the opportunity to with your combo over hill, if they get super close on cart, you can kind of just like spam them right here from above. I wouldn't suggest holding right here, because if they go hill, they shoot that. If they go in from tower, you get pitted against the wall there. Here you have a lot of cover, it's a kind of disadvantageous angle for them to peek, and you can kind of dome cart with splash, and then you can rotate back to holding side tunnel. During Uber exchanges, their soldier might get up here. In that case, you kind of just like want to trade your life to like jump him and clear him off, so on and so forth. Third, very easy access to arrows. For the most part, your might could just play a little bit wider. Arrow you on the flank here, you have this pack here, you have a heavy with a sandwich, you have a very large safety net, you have all this room, you want more rockets here. Battalions, probably, yeah. The one time I'd run gunboats is if you're just spawning and you're preparing to bomb into the enemy team from above onto cart. Like, you could take like a super high bomb around here. Again, whips really make your bombs a lot better no matter what they are, but like you just kind of land there, curve in, kind of collapse on the enemy team as they're naturally like instinctively trying to back out when they see you bombing in, or like when your team starts contesting, and you just sort of like collapse with your own team on them. Like, you have your team drop down, you have your team peek this, and this is like that sort of aggro bomb as you just like spawn, or like when you rotate back to combo when they're trying to get cart time, is a really good thing to do, because they are all kind of at one centralized cart spot on the cart there. Otherwise, you're just kind of holding on the flank here. You're mostly like playing passive and making sure they don't get around this point. You usually want to take this peek because it's like you can kind of back to this as cover, you can get arrows from around this side. You don't have to worry about players just like collapsing you from the rocks or from the drop down. You can get some calls on them. Your heavy's normally playing around here, so like on that little rock there, and you're just splashing this little spot, controlling this very narrow choke point. Your heavy could be watching this. You can help them with this if you need to. You can get banner. You can push on flank or through main with that. And then if the enemy combo is called going flank, something you can do is just sort of rotate through that and jump into this little corridor. It's something that I did that I would used to do a bit in season 7, 8 Challenger rather. And it's really easy to just get a force on, because it's like their pyro's normally just looking forward to here, because your demo man's meeting them on this little flank here, so the pyro's looking forward naturally, trying to deny your demo man. So you just jump in from the side, very narrow margin for them to react, especially if you have a whip to go with it, like speed boost. Really, you just want to constantly rotate when you're trying to do aggressive plays, and just take advantage of those little like split-second hesitations or moments where the enemy team physically can't really like deny two things at once. And then it's like, again, they're all sort of clustered around this same spot, so like landing there is very advantageous for you. Otherwise, again, keep controlling this choke point, make sure they don't get through on the flank, make sure they can't just keep shooting your heavy from the right side here, and you're just making sure they don't get their sniper through the flank, basically. To be shooting card a little bit. That's about it. Here, but they added this like little spot up here for the offensive team. So if you hold on the crates there, it's just like they have a much easier time spamming you than you can spam them. So you're either like playing kind of up here, just spamming around this, or so this does open you up to a risk of getting sniped around here. So you'll normally see your heavy back towards this, using this wall as cover. So you'll normally be kind of like playing this right side, kind of corner peeking this, sort of in and out, rotating around a lot. You could either push red room with your demo men from time to time, like if they keep trying to push red room, if they're not actively pressuring flank much. You can definitely play a lot more on combo on second and on fourth, not really on first or third though. But definitely do take note of that. Again, if they don't push flank, there's no real reason for you to just constantly sit on flank. If their enemy sniper's caught on flank, you can trade your life just to bomb, coordinate with your spy there, just make sure they're not allowed to sit on red room, non-red room, on a big door here. That's the main thing that's going to like allow them to get any good picks to initiate a push here. Otherwise, you're just playing passive here. You're buying your team time, like against the enemy sniper, against the enemy flank. You're calling their rotations, and then you're just kind of getting in a position to pinch them when it's called that they're going in heavily on the flank. If you try and contest them while they're all pushing the flank there, you're dying to the demo man, you were dying to their heavy. Most importantly, you were dying to their pyro in these very narrow areas. So once they are called going flank, rotate, so that once your combo rotates, you still have map coverage, so that you don't just get collapsed upon from any of these sites, and so that you're able to coordinate with your combo while you're pressuring them on the flank as a team. If you get a banner, you can banner through red room aggro, you can banner around here, you can meet them big door. Usually it's either going to be like a banner into red room is what I find most often, otherwise it's just like kind of for the post fight wherever your team is at.